Well, the mood around Maine is bleak, to say the least. You know, you're hearing about the warmer water temperatures. You're hearing about all the different invasive species that never used to be here. And you talk to some of these old timers, and they say it's night and day. You know, the productivity of the ocean is not what it was. The ocean, the temperature is much, much warmer.
You know, when we had water temperature that was pretty constant for like the last 150 years or 200 years, since people have been fishing for them, you could pretty much count on when things were going to happen. Now it's like everything's like haywire.
Our winters have been much milder in the last 30 years. But my daughter's 30, my son's 27, and they have never seen this bay freeze over. And when I was in high school and growing up, it was the norm.
Between 2003 and 2012, the average temperature between May and November has increased by 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty substantial. What it's really meant to me is that my catch has gone down the last couple of years. If it gets much warmer, I don't know what will happen.
There's a sweet spot for temperature with lobsters. But if you go to southern New England, Long Island Sound, the temperature there, they used to have a lot of lobsters down there. The temperatures there are in the 70s, high 70s, and lobsters are so stressed that can't survive. You know, low oxygen, a lot of stress on the lobsters, they got shell disease, they died. Warm water eventually can wreck our industry. It's not a good, pleasant thought. I mean, what we have is we've built a very strong resource, and we've done it by, you know, conservation methods and, you know, being smart with a resource. And it's too bad all that work could get erased by, you know, acidic water or global warming.
I try to keep things as simple as possible. And in my mind, I wouldn't sit in a closed garage with a car running, because you know what's going to happen. And unless I'm completely misinformed, all the pollution that we spit out, whether it's into the water or into the air, stays here. Doesn't evaporate, doesn't go anyplace, it shows up someplace. Then I think eventually we will end up poisoning ourselves.
I believe it's happening because I see it happening. But there's some people that will tell you it's a 20-year cycle and don't worry about it. It's not, I mean, I don't buy that theory. I think that's more like sticking your head in the sand. I always said when you're sticking your head in the sand, you know what's sticking up, don't you?
They're right on. I mean, they're right on. They are right on board with this whole climate change issue because they see it and they see it affecting their lives. And I think this is what's most, you know, in a way refreshing, in that these guys are all over it and they want to know what to do and how they can help, and you know, what are the predictions and how dire is it going to be, and should their children start thinking about careers other than, you know, on a working waterfront.
I've got 3 sons that have their own boats and they're in the business. I tell them to look for other jobs or another career, you know, down the road. You know, right now they love lobstering and they want to stay in it, and I hope they can. But they also need to be cognizant of the fact that this may not be here for 40 more years.
We've always said if there weren't any lobsters, there'd be no year-round residents along the coast of Maine, because nobody could afford to. It wouldn't be just islands; it would be the mainland too. I mean, it's tough enough for a year-round person to find a place to live on the coast of Maine as it is. So if you take the lobsters away, and you've got a different equation.
These places are, you know, we're endangered species, you know, Maine islands. And I think that anytime you lose a community, it doesn't matter whether it's on the mainland or an island, it's the whole world has lost something.